What's up, fight fans? Joining me now on the Cage Side Press YouTube channel is former Bellator title challenger and current PFL contender Jeremy Kennedy. Thanks for joining me today, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me, man.
Well, we've got some exciting news. You've got an opponent, Movlid Khaybulaev, April 3rd. What's your opinion of the matchup, and does it excite you?
It definitely excites me. Out of all the potential matchups, outside of the two guys that I want to, I've already fought and I would like to get those back. This is the one that, his name carries the most weight and undefeated, and that whole storyline, the Dagestanis, what they're doing to the MMA community right now. I think it's a cool one to get a feather in my cap, and hand this guy his first loss. So it's exciting. And the matchup itself, I feel like it kind of brings the best out of me. I'm not fighting another kickboxer striker that I got to worry about taking down, and that's the game plan, is get this guy down. This is more of a just fight him feet to floor. I get to showcase my striking, counter his wrestling, and I'm not afraid to wrestle these guys either. Like I said, I put my MMA grappling, wrestling world class with any. I don't care what region you're from. I'm not afraid to shoot on him, make him work, take him down, him shoot on me. Any kind of grappling exchanges, I welcome.
Yeah, you're certainly one of the most well-rounded fighters on this roster. When you look at your side of the bracket, are you happy with the draw that you got in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think I got the hardest matchup first.
Yeah.
And then no disrespect to Kelly or Kim, but I feel like the next hardest matchup is on the other side, and they got a whole row of killers, those four, on the other side of the bracket. So, man, nothing else matters outside of April 3rd. I got a job to do, a big job to do. Once I get through that, then I can kind of adjust and focus and see how I don't know anything about Kim. He could be coming out and be an absolute stud. I know Kelly. He's a good, well-rounded fighter. But they're not even on my radar right now. Come April 4th, they will be. But right now, all I can focus on is getting through this first one. And a lot of people, everyone's been like, "Oh man, you win this fight, and now it's like smooth sailing." And it's not in MMA, not with 4-ounce gloves, not when anything can happen, and not when that other bracket looks the way it does. So this whole thing's gonna be a grind, and no better way to start it than to jump right into the fire with Movlid, who's the undefeated. I mean, he hasn't lost in the PFL since he won it, so you can arguably say he's the defending champ. I know Pinedo won, but again, Movlid wasn't in it then, or I think he got injured or something.
Took a year off, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm facing the defending champ, and I'm going to come in here, take all that momentum and ride it into the next match, next fight.
Yeah, you certainly seem focused on this opening round, but your opponent, like you just mentioned, hasn't fought in nearly 2 years, June of 2023. Do you think his lack of activity is going to play a factor at all in this one?
I'm gonna make it be a factor. He had a great 2021. That was 4 years ago. That was when he was 30, good, prime, fighting actively.
Mm-hmm.
He took 2 years off, came back in 23. Had 2 fights against Kudo. You could see there was some little bit of ring rust there. And then he turned around again and fought Diamond. He looked great there. But that first fight, you can see, he slowed down a little bit. Just the way he fought, he didn't fight. If you watch that fight compared to all his other fights, was a little different. And now he's done that. So he took 2 years off, came back. Now he took another 2 years off, and he's coming back again. And I'm not saying it's a repeat or anything like that, but all he's done is gotten older, and he hasn't been training to fight for the last 2 years. He retired in 2023. So I've been training consistently to be fighting the Bellator world champion, consistent world, PFL's last season winner,
Mm-hmm.
constant fights, constant high level. And he has been helping his teammates get ready, and he's not really worried about fighting. So I feel like the gap, if there was a gap, it closed incrementally, so mm-hmm. I feel like I have to just remind him he's in a fight right away, and make sure that adrenaline comes in, and that I was just in the cage, 4 months ago, and he's been 24 months ago. So
Yeah.
I gotta make sure, I gotta remind him right away that this is a fight. This isn't training. This is, we're fighting. We're trying to hurt each other. He's trying to take everything from me. I'm trying to take everything from him. And I think that first minute of the fight, he's going to be, legs are going to fill with lactic acid, and he's going to feel it, because I'm ready to go 15 minutes of that feeling. And man, you give me goosebumps right now.
Makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah,
I did see on your Instagram, though, that you were over there in Thailand training with Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling. What was that like?
Yeah, so I went out to Thailand just for part of this camp. We had so much time that I wanted to switch it up and get some wrestling looks. And I worked a lot with Frank in the past, the wrestling coach out in Bangtao. And Aljamain actually lives in Vegas. I've been working with him a lot since coming back as well, but he just happened to be out there at the time. Volkanovski was there, Peter Yan was there. So I figured it was a good time to go out and get some different looks when I had like 5 or 6 weeks in camp. And it was good, man. It's a good push, good different bodies. You get a lot of people from that region too, training out there, like the Caucasus guys, and they're just different grips than you get when you're training in Vegas with wrestlers. There are a lot of different collegiate wrestling and stuff. So I just wanted a different look, different scenery, dial in, and it was great getting world-class work and get to work with Volkanovski, and yeah, Aljamain again is always a great look for me stylistically for this fight, and so it was a good experience.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I do have to ask, Bellator recently went away. You worked your way to a title shot with the promotion. Were you disappointed to see Bellator go? And what were some of your best memories from your time with the promotion?
Yeah, I mean, that, of course, change is, I've never been good at change. I'm happy to be, in the PFL and in the tournament, just for the activity sake. But Bellator, they took me in during COVID and gave me lots of fights. And like I said, I spent 4 years there, building up the ranks, and they implemented the rankings just as I got in there, and, fighting up the ranks and fighting all these contenders and like my first couple fights were Pico, Emmanuel Sanchez, Pedro Carvalho, all these guys who've been around forever over there. Borix again. So it was cool to jump right in, and they seen value in me, and they kept me busy, and it was a great relationship with Kogan and all the behind the scenes team. So it was sad for sure to see it end. Bellator was something, even when I was growing up, I was watching Bellator. It's been around forever. So yeah, it was definitely unfortunate, but it got to mold 2 of the better promotions, and now you get all these different matchups, and PFL kind of adopted the Bellator's Grand Prix style, which I liked as well. I wasn't a huge fan of the season and points format when I did PFL in 2019. So you kind of got best of both worlds this way, and it's still all one umbrella. A lot of the team came over from Bellator, so I still see them on fight weeks and everything like that. Just more the branding's different, and that's it. Really, PFL is the number 2, I guess, or number 1 still, and you made one mega promotion rather than having 2 guys, competing with each other. Now it's just one big one, and you got more opportunity. You got the Europe series, Challenger series, tournaments, the pay-per-view events, and so I just think overall it's good for the sport.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And last one for me, I have to ask you before we go. You mentioned 2 guys that you might want to see on the other side of the bracket. If you do get to that final, who is it that you want to see across from you?
It's hard. It's between those 2, but I would say Borix, just because that happened so long ago, and I feel like I beat Braga, and it was fresh. He's young. I'll see him around, but Borix has been a long time coming. Since that fight 4 years ago, his name floated around a few different times, and he's hovered around that same area. So, and that's one that I the moment it happened, I was like, man, I'll see him again. So it'd be pretty cool, way down the line in a different promotion for a championship would be pretty cool to run that one.
Yeah, it certainly would. Fight fans, you can catch Jeremy Kennedy against Movlid Khaybulaev April 3rd from Universal Studios, or streaming exclusively on ESPN+. Thanks so much for your time today, Jeremy.
My man, thank you very much.